Jason, how you doing? Welcome to the Jersey Boys MMA podcast. How's everything going?
Good, man. Really appreciate you having me on, and it's just a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, I wanted to reach out to you more or less because just to tell you a little bit about my background, but I kind of got into MMA about a year and a half ago. And I started just by really playing DraftKings. And little by little, I got more into the whole MMA journalism, following people on Twitter, came across your Twitter.
Hmm.
And just the other day, I saw that you landed a writing gig. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about that writing gig that you got.
I am gonna be contracted to do like freelance work for SureDog.com, and that's pretty good. I mean, it's like nothing major yet. I'm not getting into my day job kind of thing, but it's good side work, and it's one of those foot in the door kind of opportunities because paid work in MMA journalism is tough. I mean, even in regular journalism, it's hard to find a job. Now that the print version is really dying out. It's all digital now. So to get work and paid MMA journalism, whatever level it is, it's good just to get your foot in the door and start working your way towards maybe, everybody wants to be Ariel Hawani and Luke Thomas.
Yeah.
So you got to start somewhere.
Now, when you say you wanted to get into journalism, did you study journalism? Is this what you do as a day job?
Yeah, not as my day job. I was the kind of guy that when I tried college after high school, I had no interest. So I went into the work. I quit college after about a year. I went to the workforce for a long time, and then maybe I'm 34 now, but maybe like around 28, I was like, I got to get a career. I got to get a craft. I got to get skills. I get something because I'm not going anywhere. Just working. This isn't like the days when our parents could be a bus driver and then you can, live your life by house with that kind of stuff, especially New York. I'm sure Jersey's not much different. So I went back to school. I chose journalism as my major because I felt like, I'm good at communicating with people, but I need to do it in an interesting way. And maybe I could write it. So I went back to school for journalism at Lehman College here in the Bronx. And I graduated last year. And so this is like the career I want to make. I have like a regular kind of job and like, it's like warehousing kind of stuff now. But yeah, I mean, and I got into the MMA part of it because I became a fan like around 2008. Like I watched UFC 1 to 4 back in the day, but didn't really hop onto it. So I got into the sport like around 2008, and then once I started doing journalism, and I said, I'm in my major now. I'm in my final years of my schooling. Maybe I'm seeing on Twitter like people are writing for websites, and there's Twitter, posts about, oh, if you want to write for our website, contact us. I was like, why don't I do this on the side? I'm already grinding away and doing all these things. Maybe I should do writing that I actually want. And then I, started contacting some sites, and I was like, fuck it, let me just write for something I enjoy. So that's pretty much how I first got into it.
And I was going to ask you that. Did you get it? Have you had any formal training in MMA at all, or was it just a love, fan from, like you said, 2008?
Yeah, nothing like that. And that's the interesting thing about MMA, and that, for anybody out there that wants to get into it, I mean, be it if you're, doing journalism as a career, or, they're citizen journalists. You don't have to necessarily go to school and get a degree in it to become a journalist. I mean, there's like the guy who's like one of the beat writers for the Knicks. He's I forgot his name, Chris Herring, I think. I think he was like a regular writer. Like he had nothing to do with journalism, and he got into it. But yeah, no, I think it was last word on sports.com, and they had followed me, and I think I started getting some kind of notice based. I started doing like on my own podcast with a friend of mine and stuff like that years ago. We've been doing that for like 4 years too. And they had a thing of, oh, if you want to write for our site, contact us. And they had an MA section. I was like, all right, let me do it. I mean, I'm doing journalism. I have some work I can show them because Lehman has like its own website called BronxJournal.com. So I had some work I could show, a little bit of a portfolio. Let them know I was interested, and they took me, and I started writing for them. I eventually became like an editor, an associate editor. And then the site Last Word on Sports merged with MMA Sucka. So then I moved over to MMA Sucka, became an editor there for like 3 years, and then eventually worked my way to Sherdog. But that's what's great about MMA is that it's so much more approachable than other sports. Like other sports are so big. Like MMA is still so niche that you can kind of get into it, and there's tons of opportunities, not paying necessarily, but there's chances. And if you love it enough, contact some of these sites, and if you have some solid skills, they'll be willing to give you a shot. to craft your skills and get better with them.
You know what? It's funny you bring that up, because the way I got my start in social media, I actually have a small social media company. I was doing the social media for an old, it was called Go Draft. You know, back when like DraftKings and FanDuel were real big, Go Draft was one of like 20 DFS companies. Unfortunately, obviously you're from New York, so you probably know this, but the Attorney General of New York made a big deal about daily fantasy sports probably about 3 or 4 years back. And basically all the small mom and pop shops closed up. So at that time, I was trying, you know, I was kind of doing all the marketing and social media for Go Draft. So I started writing for Last Word on Sports.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and I was doing DFS stuff. But again, everybody would let you kind of print on their sites because they were trying to get, you know, traffic to the sites. I was doing daily fantasy sports stuff. After like 2 articles, I was like, all right, I'm not doing this anymore. You know, it's not paying anything. Like, I'm spending way too much time. And that's part of the problem. You spend so much, if you really want to be good at it, you spend so much time. You know, like we talked about fights. Like I probably spent 6, 7, 8 hours just this week breaking down fights for UFC Liverpool.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because we did a pod. I did a solo pod the other day. And again, the solo pod comes out to like 20 minutes. And then I'm going to do another pod tomorrow night with a bunch of my friends. You spend so much time doing this, and there's just, we got to find a way to monetize it.
Yeah,
you know, and obviously the big people have done it, and you're starting to do it now. So I mean, I appreciate you coming on and talking about it, because I think a lot of people want to do it. You know, so Last Word on Sports, MMA Soccer. So how did you get involved in MMA Soccer? It just basically Last Word on Sports turned into MMA Soccer, because I saw.
Yeah, Last Word on Sports is still around. They have the different, you know, different sections, the different sites. Because what it did was Michael Kovacs, shout out to Michael Kovacs. He runs Last Word on Sports, and then he broadened it. Instead of being a site that has all the different sections, there's like a Last Word on Sports Hockey or NBA specialized sites. And they were going to do an MMA site, but he's cool with Jeremy Brand, who is the founder of MMA Sucker, and they just came to agreement. You know, Sucker had already set itself up, and the Last Word on Sports MMA section is going to be a long hold to try to get it to notoriety. So just blend the two. So they just put MMA Sucker and that together. So all the Last Word on MMA writers went over to Sucker, and that's how it ended up over there. And I was already an editor in Last Word on Sports, so I just became an editor on MMA Sucker too.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, but a buddy of mine actually, I see that they have on MMA Sucker's Twitter, they're looking for writers still.
Yeah, no, they always have it up there, because you know what it is, and that's the thing. It's like a double-edged sword for the people who run these kind of sites. Yeah, they're totally willing to bring you in. Maybe necessarily not going to be able to pay you, but it's an opportunity to hone your craft, get out there, broaden your brand. But then you have a lot of people like, oh man, this is cool. I get to write an article, and it's like, wow, this is kind of hard work, you know? So that's where, you know, the passionate people and like the people that do it for fun get separated. And a person that maybe writes 3 articles and like, you know, I don't feel like doing any other topics. I have no other, you know, desire right now. And they kind of disappear. So they always, these kind of sites always have to kind of keep that open and bring in new people and replenish, because people go away and, you know, don't come back. And it's just, they always have it open like that.
And again, the motivation is tough, because obviously, you know, if you're not monetizing your work, it's, you know, you lose interest after a while. You know, you get discouraged, which is really why I kind of started it on my own. I just did the podcast on my own, like you had said. I'm not getting paid anything for what I'm doing, but I'm enjoying what I'm doing. I mean, and that's really what it's all about. You know, I saw your video, your short video that you put on your Twitter. You know, like the passion, the effort, the grind. Like you're interested in it. So again, that's why you've obviously taken these jobs. Now with this new gig, this is just a writing gig, or is it video also? Is it part of your podcast, or is this just writing?
No, I mean, Fight Straight Podcast, we've been doing that for like a year now. I mean, I do it with Phil Deroux. He's the strength coach at American Top Team. So he works with Dustin Poirier, Joanna Jacek, King Mo, a lot of big names. And we've been doing that for a year. We've tried to get it on different sites, but that's the unfortunate thing about certain sites. You contact them, like we've contacted like Flow Combat and other sites, and they don't answer, or maybe they show some places so interest. So I mean, we've been doing our own, so that's a separate entity unto itself. We would like to be on a site, but the Shirdo thing, I started writing for them maybe about a month or 2 ago, and an opportunity opened up for paid work. So it's like I'm going to be doing interviews and turning them into articles. I have a set amount that I have to do a month. I get paid a certain amount, so it's like a consistent contracted gig based on a certain output per month. So that's how that one pretty much works out.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Now, how does the Fight Pass podcast? How do you work that? Do you guys break down fights? Do you interview fighters? What exactly do you do with your podcast work?
So Fight Strength, because Phil is the strength coach, like the theme is the fights, the fight industry, MMA sport, MMA, and strength and conditioning. So the strength training aspect of it. So I mean, he's really blowing up. Like he actually just got nominated for Trainer of the Year for the World MMA Awards. So he's really doing some good things, and he has good connections. So we get people from like a strength coaches, nutritionists. Shout out to Tony Ricci. He works with Law MMA. He's come on the show a bunch. He's a great nutritionist. And me, Phil, and Tony wrote a book about weight cutting and everything that I got to edit and be a part of. So and then we have fighters. Like, for example, we've had Tony Ricci. We went to Law MMA when Phil was visiting from Florida, and we got to interview Tony and Ray Longo together. We've had Joe DeFranco, who, for like wrestling fans out there who don't know his big success in strength and conditioning, he's the guy that trains Triple H and Stephanie McMahon. So Joe DeFranco's been on it. Other well-known George Lockhart, who's like a top nutritionist weight cut guy in MMA. And then we've had Joanna Jędrzejczyk on the show. We've had Tyron Woodley. We've had Colby Covington before he lost his mind and became crazy. All I gotta say is Colby Covington was such a cool, nice guy, and I don't know what happened. And he's just completely different than that guy. But so yeah, I mean that's pretty much how we got there. I interviewed him from a friend of mine, Paul Gavoni, who's like a strength coach connected with American Top Team, real great guy. He's a good friend of mine. He set me up with Phil, and when I was writing for MMA Suck, and I was doing a show called Sucker Shots on MMA Sucker, where I would interview somebody, we'd do fight picks, so that I met Phil through that. He was writing for the site. We did an interview, and then he told me, like, I got this idea for a podcast, and he wanted me to do it with me, and we've been doing it ever since, and it's been doing good. It's been doing solid numbers. We've just passed 20,000 downloads. We just passed 1,000 downloads on Spotify since December. We're doing good on SoundCloud. So I mean, but it's hard though. Like, if you don't have that extra reach of like a website or something like that, the big sites, it's difficult. But I mean, we're doing pretty solid for going into our first year now.
No, I think it's very impressive. And again, you named some big names in the industry. I mean, Joanna was the champ until Rose knocked her off in November at the Garden. You mentioned Tyron Woodley. There was another big name you mentioned too. I'm writing a lot of this stuff down, but I'm losing track of it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Poirier. We're hoping to have Poirier on the show again soon, hopefully.
Yeah. So I mean, you got some big names. You know what I mean? So that's what it's all about. I'm actually interviewing Mike Trezani next week. He's on Tough. He's on Tough right now. Okay. He actually won last week.
Oh, that's the guy.
Episode 5.
Is he from Jersey, New York?
He's from Jersey, and that's what. And again, this is Jersey Boys podcast, so I'm trying to focus on Jersey because again, basically long story. We could talk about this all night, but the way that I got my start is I got into the MMA stuff through DraftKings, and then just playing DraftKings in a bunch of leagues, really following MMA, and all of a sudden I'm watching literally every event every weekend. So after a while, I'm like, all right, I want to do something in the industry. I didn't really know what to do. Thought about writing, but I didn't really know where to. A couple people offered me writing gigs, and I was just like, I don't really want to do this for free. And again, now I find myself doing it for free, but whatever. It's funny how this all works.
Yeah.
So I guess about a month and a half, 2 months ago, MMA India reached out to me on Twitter because I told you I have a social media company too that I do some work for.
Yeah.
And they asked me to cover UFC 223. So out of nowhere, all of a sudden, I have media credentials for, one of the biggest cards in the last few years.
Yep.
So I'm literally there at media day when Conor McGregor comes out of his SUV, sprints to the front of the Barclays Center. I'm standing there fumbling with my phone. I'm like, wait a minute, that's fucking Conor McGregor. Like, I'm trying to get the video, and a couple, news outlets actually picked up the video of Conor McGregor coming in, running into the elevator. It was actually my video. You know what I mean? So that was kind of, from that day, I was like, I got to do something. You know what I mean? I guess 2 weeks later, we're at Atlantic City, UFC Atlantic City.
Yeah.
Again, working for MMA India. I'm sitting in press row, interviewing fighters, and I'm at 223. I'm at Dana White's post fight press conference, and I'm like, this is I got to do something. Like this is unbelievable. You know what I mean? Like I'm a fan, but like who gets to experience this? You know what I mean?
Yep.
And then you just get hooked, and then all of a sudden you're doing shit for free.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But
and
you
that's why I
enjoy
said that,
it though. So it's like it's not it's like work. It's just fun, but
But it's a lot of time.
Yeah.
I have a wife, I have a 9-year-old daughter, I have a 5-month-old baby boy. Like, it takes a lot of time. But like you said, it's a lot of fun. And I think people are interested in this stuff. One of the first things when I started with MMA India too, the fighters are so accessible.
Yes.
They're very like you're talking about some big names
that
everybody watches on TV, and they'll come on your podcast. They'll you know what I mean? They work out and then they go home and they're regular people, and
totally
they don't mind doing it. And even some of the other journalists like James Lynch. I've reached out to James Lynch a couple times just to ask him, what am I supposed to do at UFC 223 when I'm sitting there in the media room and Ariel Helwani's sitting besides James Lynch is actually after I asked him a question, he actually sat right next to me for weigh-ins for 223. With that whole fiasco that went on, because again, we didn't know who was fighting. Holloway got pulled. We think it's Ala Quinta. We think it's Anthony Pettis. We didn't know who it was. So like I'm going through all this stuff and all these names, the people that we follow on Twitter, I'm sitting in the room with. You know what I mean? But they're so accessible. You can ask them questions. They'll help you out. James Lynch just the other day, I hit him up on Twitter. I said basically like, this goes back and forth, this video feed. I want to figure out how to do the video side-by-side video feed.
Yeah, he has the video on YouTube about how to do it. I watched that too. Yep.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So like everybody's so accessible. And again, he's doing that video. He also has another video on YouTube about how to basically get started in the industry. And basically what I did is after watching that, I was like, all right, listen, I'm not going to be Ariel Helwani or James Lynch next week. It just doesn't happen. You know this. It doesn't happen. You've been doing this for 3 or 4 years. But what you can do is go to regional events. So that's why what I did is I started, the Jersey Boys podcast, and I want to focus on New Jersey because for the most part, I can't, as much as I would love to go to International Fight Week, go overseas to some of these cards, I'm not going to all these things, especially if I'm not getting paid.
Yeah.
But I don't mind going down to Atlantic City. I don't mind going over to the Garden.
Feel the same way.
If I can get media credentials out of it, I'm covering the event. So like we have media credentials for the Ring of Combat event on the 8th. And then I think you had asked too about Pro Fighters League.
Yeah, I'm trying to get to PFL on Saturday. That's Saturday, so that'd be good.
Yeah, or Friday. Isn't that Friday night?
What is it, 7th, a Friday or a Saturday?
I think I'm pretty sure it's a Friday because I think the Ring of Combat event is this Saturday.
Okay.
It may even be a Thursday. I'm getting my days mixed up here. But it may even be a Thursday. But yeah, hopefully you're there. Hopefully I get the credentials. We could have a beer after the event or something like that.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm just going over some of my questions here. Anything else you wanted to talk about this?
No, I mean, just, for anybody out there, we've talked about it. It's difficult. Yeah. Like you said it too, you have your family. Like I have my girlfriend, her son, you have your, and that's the thing to people out there that want to do it, and James Lynch, he contacted me too one time on Facebook because I had like that frustration of like applying for jobs because, just get regular jobs. And I ended up asking him questions about, the MMA business and everything too. And he even said, you kind of have to find a day job and kind of just do that on the side. Like it's hard. Like he has to work for like 4 different sites and do video for like 4 different sites to make ends meet. Like that dream of just working for one site, like guys like people like Chuck Mindenhall that I admire, it's few and far between. The Mark Raymondis and all these guys, it's hard. And then the thing is, they're not leaving those spots, so unless another big site,
they're also very good at what they do.
Yes.
And that's
totally.
what a lot of people don't appreciate all the time. They're very, very good at what they do.
Yeah. I mean, I'm hopefully, because I got I'm a part of the MMA Journalist Association, so I'm hoping they do another event because I didn't get to go to the event last year to just meet some of the guys because like you said, everyone's so accessible, but it's a side kind of passion, you know, get your regular job. That's what I'm trying to get. Use my degree to get a better job and do this on the side. And it's easier because like I got to go, it's been hard for me to get, I haven't gotten UFC credentials yet, but I've got Bellator a few times and I go to the Mohegan Sun in Connecticut. And just to be at cage side, like it's with other people who are into it and enjoy it. It's just fun. Like, it's so fun. So if you love it, yeah, you grind. You got to write those articles. You got to do the social media and make contacts or whatever. But for those payoffs like that, being press row for like a big event, like it's totally worth it. So then when you finally start making money doing it, I mean, it makes it all worthwhile. But it's a side hustle. It's just a hard business to make money. And so unless you're super passionate about it, it may not be for you. You might be better off just being a fan and stuff like that. But if you want to grind like you do and do the podcast and do all these things, it pays off. And there's opportunity there. There's sites out there that will, give you a chance. And it's worth it to try if you want it.
Yeah, I mean, when all is said and done, at some point, maybe somebody will recognize what you're doing, want to take advantage of your talent, of your effort, like you had mentioned in your video, of the grind, of the passion. And again, all these guys, they have the same thing. So again, the more knowledgeable you are, the more experience you get. Experience is the best teacher, and then you get an opportunity. What you brought up is a great point about Bellator too. I haven't covered a Bellator event, but I think there's going to be a Bellator event maybe in August over at Madison Square Garden. I know they were here last June or July.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So I think they'll be back. The Mohegan Sun stuff, I know they do some of their smaller events over there. And I think what's going to open up a lot in the MMA game is sports gambling being legalized recently.
Yep.
Because I think, especially at the casinos, I mean, I was at UFC Atlantic City. We stayed at Bally's, which is where all the fighters were. And I mean, it was awesome. We're sitting there on Saturday. The fights are Saturday night. And, Frankie Edgar comes walking right through the casino. I mean, literally walking right through. Like, these guys are walking right through where you're playing craps, right through where you're playing, you're at the blackjack table, sitting there. And again, we had like 6 guys down there. A bunch of my friends were down there too. Just a really great environment, great to interact with these guys. And again, on the UFC, everybody, for us, you watch every UFC event, I'm assuming too. You recognize these guys. On the local scenes, these guys aren't recognized. So that's why, with the Jersey boys, what I'm trying to do is basically focus on Jersey and almost be one of the few people out here in Jersey that's getting these guys some airtime. You know what I mean? So even Mike Trezano, I believe, I think on his Twitter page, he has like 600 likes. Like, the guy's fighting in the UFC.
Yeah, you know it's crazy. Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like, you get him on a couple podcasts, people pick up on it, people start following him. And a lot of that may get, a lot of the hype gets you into the UFC and gets you into bigger fights in the UFC. You know what I mean? So it's crazy.
And it's all about respect too with these guys. It's a simple thing too, because if you catch a guy early on the rise and you were respectful, cool, fun, and nice, they're gonna remember you and they'll hook you up down the line. And that's why it's worth it to do the regional or interview the guy when he only has 7,000 followers or she only has 10,000 followers, because they'll remember that. And like, just like you mentioned about those moments that you just like Frankie Edgar's walking by, like. I had one of those kind of moments like about 3 months ago. I went to Law MMA to meet with Tony Ricci because we were like doing the editing for the weight cutting, but which weight cut systematic strategies you can find on DrewStrong.com. But I was doing editing with him, and I had interviewed Ray Longo a couple of times before, and Tony goes away to do something real quick, so Ray Longo is running like a drill with guys, tell them, okay, do 10 of these, 15 of these. And me and Ray Longo are just sitting there on 2 fold-out chairs talking MMA. Ray Longo is a legend. Like what he's done in the sport, especially in New York MMA, it's just so big. So it was like surreal. Like, you're sitting there like just talking like things with Ray Longo. Like, it doesn't seem real, but that's one of those moments where it's like, okay, all that shit before, it paid off. Like, this was worth it. And that's what's, so cool about it. I envy the people that got in early, like the Hawanis and Luke Thomas, that got in when the sport was starting to build, and they kind of rode with it. Now we're just getting into it as it's getting on ESPN.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. Christ, Ariel is literally just got hired by ESPN.
Yes.
I mean, Now who's going to take his spot at MMA
Yes.
Hour and all this other stuff? You know what I mean? So
Yep.
that, but it's a cyclical thing, and just about everything in life is. Somebody moves out of a spot, somebody moves
Yes.
up, more spots open up. You know what I mean? So even look at the fighters. I mean, the fighters when they're, they have their careers, they have their fights. Most of them are still fighting. I mean, I was just watching the UFC show, the UFC Tonight.
Mm-hmm.
You got Tyron Woodley's on there.
Yep.
The Mavericks on there. He's trying to get a gig, and they're all trying to get like announcing gigs, analyst gigs. Some of them are very good. I mean, Paul Felder, I interviewed at 223 Media Day because he was on that card. He was supposed to fight.
Yeah, yep.
And that was one of the questions I asked him. You know what I mean? Like because they have the whole media scrum, and you're sitting there and you're basically talking to these guys one-on-one. And I said to him, like, if you were in my spot, what question would you ask? You know what I mean? And he had a great answer. I actually have to cut that video and put it on my Twitter because it was actually a really good back and forth with him. But Jay, I know I asked you already if there's anything else. Hopefully a lot of people, maybe if you want to come on the pod again, break down fights, I'd love to have you on. I got to ask you about weight cutting one more time. This weekend we got the Darren Till fight. We'll just talk one fight real quick. Okay. Darren Till fight. They're saying that he walks around at about 205.
Okay.
You got to weigh in at about 170. What do you think because he's a big guy.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that he's getting back up to about 190, 195 by fight time. Is that accurate? Is that healthy? What are your thoughts?
Well, I've talked about it a lot with Phil because Phil, he's and Tony Ricci. I mean, Tony's specifically works a lot with does strength training at Law, and he does nutrition, so he helps with weight cutting too. Phil has worked with the weight cutting too. They often say like you want to be like a few weeks before the fight, you kind of want to be like in that 7 to 10 pound range. I mean, their total belief is that like that blowing up to 205, they wouldn't be down with that. Like they don't believe in that kind of stuff. Like they probably want you to maybe stay within 20 pounds of the weight all year kind of thing. So because you don't want to be like Rampage and blow up 30 pounds, go into camp, and then the first few weeks of the camp is just trying to lose the weight. And then you're trying to train. So, but they've often said like, and I surprised me too, because I thought, they were going to say like, you want to be 5 pounds or whatever. But, you can really cut like 6 to 7 pretty easily in that last week or so. So you want to stay healthy and efficient, like around 10 pounds from weight, 10 to 15, maybe 15. But so, yeah, I mean, for him, that's tough. I mean, who knows? I mean, he's also young. I mean, it could be immaturity. Maybe now that he's really getting these big time, maybe that's changed. Maybe he's walking more around like 195, which is terrible. But yeah, I mean, that's that can't help you. And if it's gonna be a long decision type of fight, a lot of tit for tat technical stuff with a guy like Wonderboy who doesn't get tired for 5 rounds. I mean, personally, I think that's a bad matchup for Till. Like, I think Wonderboy is going to make people realize why Wonderboy is still really, really good. So, I mean, I'm fascinated about how that fight works out, but I think a lot of people are going to find out, like, Till's really good, but he's not quite there quite yet. I mean, what do you think?
I'll be honest with you. I'm going back and forth. I've probably gone back and forth about 3 times. I'm a big Till fan, to be honest with you. So I'm trying to find reasons to pick Wonderboy, and there's plenty of reason to pick him. It's not a tough decision if you want to go either way. And again, I think a lot of money came in on Till yesterday because I believe Wonderboy was like minus 150.
Okay.
And I believe it's basically a pick 'em right now, like minus 115, minus 105. Yeah, a lot of money came in on Wonderboy yesterday, and it was like late last night. I think it was yesterday afternoon, late last night. So the good thing is I don't do my prediction podcast until tomorrow, so I don't have to make an official pick. But I'm going back and forth. If you would have asked me yesterday, I would have said Till. Yeah. If you asked me earlier today, I would have said Thompson. Then I listened to another interview, and now I'm back to Till. So my official pick will be tomorrow. I'm going to be honest with you. I kind of get the feeling. I know it's a hype train. You know what I mean? And I know people they love to criticize people for getting behind the hype train when the train obviously just smacks into a wall.
Yeah.
But the thing is, he reminds me so much of Conor McGregor. And, the big overhand left, very, very confident. Some would say overconfident, but very, very confident.
Yeah.
But again, all fighters are confident. I mean, don't step in the ring if you don't think you're going to win the fight.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Al Iaquinta, even at UFC 223, I mean, he stepped into the ring. He was game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He lost every round, but he was game. He thought he could win that fight. And again, you learn from every experience. I just think, you know, do I love the narrative? Yes. Am I getting caught up in it?
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So what am I saying right now? I'm saying I want Darren Till to win. Who I think's gonna win? I don't know, but I'm saying I want Darren Till to win. So I'll leave it at that.
I mean, when I was looking over his numbers and his resume and his wins, there's a lot of those TKOs and knockout wins are against some guys that are just like so. And a lot of people are gonna hang their hat in a Cerrone win, and that's without a doubt, it's a very good win. The only thing is, Donald Cerrone is a guy that he's not what you would call elusive. You know, he likes to stay in that Muay Thai stance. This whole area is not moving. It's a lot of this and everything. So he's easy to hit. I mean, perfect example, everybody thought Jorge Masvidal was going to be outmatched, but the Jorge Masvidal is very technical, and he schooled Donald Cerrone. He made him look bad at times. So, I mean,
and then Thompson beat Masvidal doing exactly what you just mentioned, being elusive and not really letting Masvidal hit him.
And that's the thing. Like, everybody's going to look, oh, he beat Cerrone, knocked him out for, he's nasty. And he's got skills. He's going to probably be very good. But this is a totally different kind of guy. This is an extremely hard guy to hit. He's long. It's not, you know, Till's a big guy. Nice fight, another big guy. It's hard. You know, maybe he's used to being the big guy. So, but to get in, get out, you know, the one thing for Till is if you can get to Wonderboy, he can be had. He can be knocked down. He can be hurt. It doesn't mean you can finish him, but he can be hurt. And this guy, Till's got serious power. But that movement in and out for 5 rounds, the veteran skills, the experience he has, I feel like it's going to be Yair Frankie. Like, we feel like, damn, man, this kid is good. This might be the moment the torch is passed. Like, yeah, not yet. I just feel like it's that kind of thing, like, not yet.
I mean, one of my jokes on Twitter afterwards is Frankie basically ruined Yair's career. After that was his last UFC fight.
Yeah, yeah.
Regardless of what you want to say, whether he turned him down, he wasn't ready. Supposedly, who was it that said? I think it was Brendan Schaub on his. I don't know what podcast you listen to. I'm basically on my drive to work every morning. I listen to a podcast, so I'm basically listening to probably 5 or 6 a week. You know, in the industry, that's how hooked I am. But I think Brendan Schaub said Yair wasn't ready, and a lot of the reasons he wasn't ready for another fight was something was going on. He basically took a year off after that fight and kept saying he wasn't ready. I don't want to say he was abusing whatever it is that he was abusing, whether it was drugs or alcohol, but Brendan Schaub kind of alluded to that fact. Which again, if that's a reason, if he really is doing that, and the UFC, Dana White had any reason to suspect that something like that was going on, and the guy's not taking his profession serious, I mean, cut the guy. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, just cut him, get rid of him. But I will tell you one thing. I've watched a lot of tape on this fight because I'm going back and forth. And I noticed that when Stephen Thompson walks in and he closes distance, he has a tendency to basically go what you basically just described before, going left-right. So he'll go with a left hook or a right, you know, uppercut or a right jab, you know, whatever the combination may be. But his head basically goes real quick left, right.
Yeah.
If Darren Till just puts one right down the middle, big left right down the middle, eventually he's going to hit him. I mean, he basically does it 5 or 6 times around. I'm not telling you the timing's going to be there. It may not be there for 5 rounds, but when he makes that move, that foot, because again, his footwork is so good, and when he darts in, and it's quick when he does it, but he basically goes left, right with a 2-piece combination, and his head is left, right. He's back to the center.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you can follow a hard left right down the middle. I think Till can drop him with that kind of shot. I'm just saying, if that happens, just shout me out on Twitter. That's all I'm asking.
And another thing I'll throw out there too for anybody like looking for extra info on picking it, like when Tyron Woodley fought him, and you know, Tyron Woodley should get a lot of credit for how patient he was, because he's so frustrating to deal with, and that's going to be the huge test for Till too, for a guy that's had a whole lot of success, very young, everybody's kissing his booty. This is going to be a frustrating fight. Can he keep his composure when he very well may lose the first 3 rounds because this guy's in and out, frustrating, you know, unorthodox, coming from different angles? Can he keep that composure and wait for that shot when it comes? Because it will come. And can he, you know, do something with it. And that's going to be a huge test for a guy who I think is 25 years old or something like that. So either way, very, very fascinating fight. And it's either going to be a moment where Wonder Boy's like, look, I'm still the man here. I deserve another title shot, or it's going to be the Darren Till show. It's going to be the Conor McGregor all over again, and UK is going to get another superstar.
Yeah, and you know what? Exactly, and that's why I mentioned Conor McGregor before, because he had that huge fight in Dublin.
Yep.
And this is in Darren Till's hometown. It's in Liverpool. Everybody's going to be out from. It's going to be a great environment. Great. I mean, I can't wait to watch it. I'm actually happy it's on a Sunday afternoon. Happy it's a little holiday weekend. We can get a couple beers in the middle of the day and just enjoy the fights. I'm having some of my friends over to watch them. Yeah. But I think what you just said, and we'll end it off here, but I think what you just said is very, very important to realize. Early in the fight, I think it's very important to win that first round. His adrenaline dump that he's going to have in that first round, coming out, Liverpool and everything, is something I'm very sure he's never experienced. I'm very sure most fighters have never experienced what he's about to experience. Most fighters don't get to literally fight in your hometown, in your home state, but you're talking your hometown.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like that's something that just not many people, and especially someone overseas like that, because you basically have the whole country it wants to get.
They don't go there that much, so it's a big deal. It's huge, and they got a great fan base as is.
Yeah, so. But Jason, I really do appreciate you coming on. I think we had a great talk. By all means, anytime you want to come back on, break down fights, you got anything else that you want to share with my audience, and by all means, I'll return the favor anytime you want.
Yeah, just look for the Fight Strength Podcast. You can find it on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play Music, iHeartRadio, YouTube. Look for my articles on SureDog.com. We have a really good article coming up in a few weeks. It's going to be about platelet-rich plasma and its relation with MMA and healing fighters. So look out for that on SureDog. Shout out to MMA Sucker for hooking me up for many times and giving me opportunities. And just, look for my work coming up in the future from SureDog.com.
And everybody here, by all means, Jay, send it to me on Twitter. You could just DM it to me, and I'll retweet it out and get it out to everybody. So if anybody can, pay attention to your stuff too.
Oh, yeah, talk about Twitter, Cheap Seats Chat, Instagram, Jericho and Vendetta, Fight Strength Podcast is on Facebook, and you can just find me on Facebook too. But do that, man. I really appreciate coming on and talking to you. And let me know whenever you want me to come on and talk some fights. I'm always up for it.
Definitely, we'll do it again sometime. Thanks, Jay.
All right, man.